effectiveness.
On an intellectual level and on a physical level.
Really wanting to get this to work exactly the way I want it to work.
Learning that I can learn how to figure it out.
Okay, see this little dark bit right there?
What my daughter learned is to really focus in depth on what she's doing and pay complete attention to it, which is the way we perform best. And what I'm afraid other children are learning is that multitasking is the way to be, and current cognitive science says that's really going to hurt them in the long run.
We're gonna have an awesome day today.
As a father with a son here, I mean, I want him to develop, his physical abilities.
If you ask just about any SVS student what they're going to do today, chances are you're not going to get a very articulate answer.
It's a very important part of the middle school curriculum. We like to win as much as anybody else.
Good.
And it builds pride in a class and it builds pride in a school.
The way sports and athletics is offered here, it's done in a more balanced way.
Maybe because they don't want to talk to you, but it's probably because they don't know. But if you ask them like what you're interested in, I mean, that's a whole different story. You'll probably get a very, very articulate answer.
I think that the sports department is more important than the music department. I think they're both equally important. I think 2 foreign languages and woodwork and handwork and gardening and sciences and language arts are just as important.
They put their physical energy to work in different ways.
And when they have that body energy that they don't know what to do with it, Marin Waldorf says, great, we'll teach you.
Well, in the 3rd grade, we teach self-sufficiency.
And a student not knowing exactly what they're going to do, but knowing what they like, just going to immerse themselves in whatever interest that they have, whatever activity.
It's a beautiful campus.
And with the shelter block, they learn about what people need to build a shelter. Why do they build shelters in a particular place? Why do they use the materials that they use?
A mud house from Botswana. Adobo, it's built in Papua New Guinea. It's a hobbit hole. A gangplank to get to the ferry. An Arctic igloo. It's made out of mud. Swiss lake house. Brazilian stilt house.
It is soothing to come into. I feel like when you pull into the parking lot at school, it's just kind of escaping into our own little world where we can do whatever we want. We can do what we need to do without people interfering with that.
You see how many green cards we have?
Indonesian treehouse.
Drawing, painting, woodworking, gardening, sewing, knitting, it all ties into each other and you see the interconnectedness of things.
Movement helps to integrate all the things that they're learning because you don't only learn with your eyes and your ears and your head. You really learn with your whole body.
Now there are 2 points here. One is certainly a point about the social structure of a classroom. Montessori is very anti-authoritarian, anti-obedience, anti-top-down social structure, and certainly this has broader social and political implications.
I gave you all of mine. We have like 20.
There's lots of different types of kids who come to Sudbury Valley School. Some have been here their whole lives. Some have just been here a couple of years. And I had a higher order of thinking every successive year. In my first year, I really spent most of that year just playing video games. One particular video game, actually.
And the biggest question that comes up is, what if you get a teacher you don't like? What if you get a child that you don't like?
You can't just not like your teacher and sort of sit in the back and get away with it.
You have to work through things. There wasn't like, oh, those cool kids, or you're not cool so you can't be friends, or, you know, ostracizing a girl for her looks.
Being able to look people in the eye and say, you know, I disagree with.
A lot of parents and a lot of people who don't know the Sudbury model like ask me like, well, don't kids just play video games all day? And like, well, what if my kid just plays video games all day? And
you go after that big goon.
Yes, but you cannot judge a man. That was just the time in the South.
Really, by 1966, when he took his all-white team to the title game, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain were in the NBA and Willie Mays was a baseball star.
Yes, but eventually recruited black basketball players to Kentucky.
He was forced by the president and he said, Harry, that son of a bitch is ordering me to get some niggers in here.
But she's making a point here about human nature, that each of us likes to be the master of our own destiny. And this is a feature of human nature right from the beginning, right with children. And so the point is that children are going to learn best and they're going to realize themselves as human beings to the extent that we respect their ability to make choices.
What am I going to do? He's the boss.
Why are you not like everybody else and just forget about this when glorifying him?
I have not even talked about the opposing black player that was hung in effigy in the gym before a game.
So, you are saying it is somewhat disrespectful to name a court after the man?
Just a bit.
Now, in a school setting, of course, we want to make sure that they are learning and exposed to important stuff, but that is the point about the prepared environment that the teachers and parents will prepare right ahead of time for the students, so that all of the interesting activities that children can choose from, all of those are activities that will have important educational themes built into them for the children to explore. Another element of the importance of choice.
I mean, that's exactly what I did, and I certainly have no regrets. I did have a pretty close-knit group of friends who all shared the same exact interests as I did, and we were intensely involved in that community. I mean, it was just like anything else that you would be really intensely involved in. It just happened to be video games for us.
For your own good, but we can't really explain to you why you need to learn it. Just take it on faith that at some point 15 or 20 years later down the road you are going to need this knowledge. Instead, for Montessori, what the children need to learn is embedded in meaningful context, but the meaningfulness is at the child's level of understanding, the child's level of interest.
How do you control it? Here you go.
How will you ever survive their onslaught of death?
They're just evil bouncy balls.
Why?
I can't find a safe spot. I actually gotta fix this glitch.
Yeah, well, in a couple minutes you'll be blown away by my programming prowess.
You, but you know, that doesn't mean we're enemies. That doesn't mean we hate each other.
The beauty of this curriculum is that you've made that commitment to go that much deeper.
The deeper the commitment, the deeper the respect and rapport that a teacher will have with a student, the better that student will do.
We studied those video games just like an economist would study the stock market. And I think anything that you put effort into, that type of effort into, would yield.
Who can make a declarative sentence?
As they get older, they become more interested in doing what you want them to do because of their love for what they're being taught.
That book changed my life. Absolutely, fundamentally, in every way, changed my life. I had no idea that I didn't have to do what I was told, that I didn't have to go to school.
And in the younger grades, their love is more for the teacher who stands before them.
You learn through curiosity, through exploration, through picking up books just because you're interested in it, through searching the internet. But on the other hand, the adult knew where to look because of years of education. So all these things I just mentioned, computers and books and mathematical formulas, don't come about just through playing.
My children love their teachers, and the teachers love my children.
And when the teacher loves the child blossoms. And when the child loves the teacher, the child can learn from the teacher.
Even grammar, reading materials beyond just sort of the formulaic books that she has in her path.
When I was 15, I was given the Teenage Liberation Handbook by Grace Llewellyn, whose subtitle is How to Quit School and Get a Real Life in Education.
With stuff.
Unschooling for us came really naturally with the way that we were already parenting. We were following the children's lead as far as nursing and eating and all these things, which are sort of the principles of unschooling too. Like you follow the children's what their leads are. And I was in La Leche League with them, and a lot of the leaders in La Leche were also unschoolers.
That's an essential ingredient in education.
The teacher becomes a representation of the best of humanity. And that is what the child is looking for.
Well, when I hear our class teacher talking about my daughter, I know that when she says, you know, Katie's getting it or not getting it, she's talking about my daughter and what her individual capacities are.
The whole philosophy of La Leche League is like that you nurse on demand, you don't put your children on a schedule, and that's sort of like, you know, listening when the child says, when the baby knows it's what it needs most. It knows when it's hungry. It just made sense with everything, like not trying to control the children.
Unschooling is perfectly legal. In Ohio, the rules are that I have to notify at the beginning of each year and
not just any other third grader.
It's a true partnership. I know that when a child is struggling, I can really have a frank conversation with their parents, and that we will work together to find a way to support their child.
Turn in an assessment for the previous year with that notification.
Homeschools are considered legally, as a legal entity, they're a private school. So we would be able to identify ourselves in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of the state, as a private school.
We sort of gave an overview of all the possible academic subjects with descriptions of how we would learn those from life.
In the beginning, I was quite jealous because Rudolf Steiner has given almost everything about the child to the teachers. When he talks about child development, he gave them a key.
As such, we could also have certain sort of rights and privileges that any other school would have. For example, if she has a school ID, she would get the same discount any student would have. But in terms of reporting to someone or checking, like sort of a checklist or certification that happens, not required in Illinois, and we don't do so.
To how to heal through education, because education can make ill and education can heal.
We had this experience with our son Eli. He was very shy, and the other schools made us feel like this shyness was going to be a major problem.
I think published guidelines that people can follow and community groups of homeschoolers, which I know are very popular, for example, in Michigan. I know there's a big homeschooling movement there, and I don't know that much about Illinois. And they have...
And Marin Waldorf School said, nope, Eli is going to come to the world in his own time. And if you just, let him come to the world, he will come.
Okay. Any more hands? No? Okay, I'm going to take the proposals. So there is 2 proposals against each other. All those in favor of a strong warning for Ryan. So all those in favor of Ryan being fined £20 and the money goes to Maddie. All against all. Ryan, it's been carried that you're fined £2 a week for the next 10 weeks. Next. Hang on, you can't leave without the permission of the chair!
I'm worried about that boy.
And he did come to the world. And I think it was because there wasn't this incredible pressure to make him do it when he wasn't ready.
These little bees were working so hard.
We really must see some lessons, Myrtle.
You're supposed to ask permission before leaving the meeting.
Really, the impertinence.
Making delicious honey.
What you see is this unfolding experience of leading the child into the world in a way that has patience about it, that has grace and space. And what you then see is a child when they graduate who can do remarkable things.
Don't let that huge cocky kid set a tent up under the desk. Of course, if he gets position on you, it's going to throw down every time. So you've got to get him out of there.
You still got a half to play. Now, I'm putting you in with 3 fouls, lad. Now, you got to play smart, but you still got to protect the paint. He's over there trying to figure out how to get you to foul out, so you just keep your feet on the ground.